Ever wonder how those Renaissance masters got such depth in their paintings? Like you could step right into the scene.
Oh, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, today we're uncovering their secret weapon, underpainting.
Underpainting.
It's way more than just a base coat. We're going deep on this, using an article from Irish Art Mart, Underpainting Techniques.
Oh, I like them.
They're great. So whether you're an artist or just love art, this is going to be fascinating.
I think so.
But before we get all how-to, what is underpainting really?
Right, it's more than just color, yeah.
Exactly.
They have it. Imagine a sculptor. Before they even touch the marble, they have the vision, but they need that block of stone to work with, right?
I see.
Underpainting eyes that block. A foundation, usually neutral colors, grays, browns, that sets everything up.
Okay, so like a muted ghost image under the real deal.
In a way, yeah.
But why is that so important? Why not just go straight for the vibrant colors?
Oh, because this ghost, it does so much. The article actually lists 4 huge benefits.
Hit me with them.
First, tonal values. Light and shadow play. That's what gives a painting depth, makes it 3D.
Right.
Think Caravaggio, those dramatic Renaissance scenes. One candle lighting a whole room.
Oh, yeah.
Underpainting helped them plan that. Where light addicts, shadows fall, before any red or blue even touch the canvas.
A roadmap for the light, basically. Makes sense, especially if you want that hyper-realistic look.
Exactly. And then composition, how everything's arranged in the painting.
Oh, like, I do thumbnail sketches when I get an idea.
It's like that, but on the canvas. Placement, proportions, balance, all figured out early.
Underpainting is the blueprint then. Okay.
It really is.
What about mood, though? Color's huge for that. But we're still talking neutrals here, right?
True. But imagine 2 landscapes. One underpainted with warm ochres, the other cool blues. Even before details, they feel different, no?
Yeah. One's sunny, one's, I don't know, kind of sadder.
Exactly. It sets the stage emotionally.
Underpainting is more powerful than I thought.
It really is.
Yeah.
And lastly, depth. Even cartoons use shading to make things pop.
Oh, totally.
Underpainting does that huge E scale. Those neutral layers build up volume, you know.
Like 3D printing, but with paint.
Kinda, yeah. It makes the final piece captivating.
All right, I'm SLD. Underpainting is art's secret weapon. But T, how's it done?
Well, there are steps.
Ooh, lamb on me.
7 key ones, actually, and they're more interesting than you'd think.
Okay, step 1, what you got?
Prep. Surface, getting it ready. But oils versus acrylics, that changes things.
Ooh, technical. I'm here for it. What's the difference in prep then?
So oil paints. Classically, a smooth, primed canvas, like a foundation so the paint sticks, doesn't soak in.
Right.
Acrylics, though, much more versatile. Canvas, wood, even paper.
So the canvas itself matters. And speaking of matters, what's next in this underpainting formula?
It's choosing your medium, what you'll underpaint with.
Gotcha.
Traditionally, monochrome palette, but
Yeah,
there's always room to experiment.
I was going to say, got to break the rules sometimes.
Exactly. Instead of strict grays, what if you used a color that hinted at the final mood?
Ooh, I like that.
Say, a portrait, but the underpainting's reddish, suggests passion before any skin tones even show up.
Okay, that is cool. A seed of color, that blooms later. What's after prep and our maybe not so neutral medium then?
Then it's the initial layer, blocking in shapes, almost like a coloring book, but big scale. Not tiny details yet, just those big areas of light and dark, mapping it out.
So building that foundation, got it.
Exactly, which makes the next step so fun. This is where the artist gets dramatic, shaping things, refining the shadows, light, more nuance.
Like behind the scenes on a movie.
Yeah.
Directors all, move that light here, it's too spooky.
Yes, understanding how light works, using it to guide the eye, get the emotion across.
This is way deeper than I thought. Okay, so first layer of light shadows down. What then?
We build on it. More layers, refining shapes, deepening shadows, sculpting, but with paint.
Gotcha.
And fun facts, some artists leave traces of this visible in the final piece. Texture, history.
Wow, so those grays and browns are doing so much. No wonder underpainting's so important.
It is, yeah. So we've built up our layers.
Yeah.
Now comes refining. Not just fixing mistakes, but choices, like editing a film, cutting scenes for pacing,
Makes sense.
refining underpainting, its mood shifts, soften a shadow here, bolder highlight there, all before the real colors.
So even in the neutrals, there's still art happening, like a secret conversation with the painting.
Exactly, setting it all up. So the last step in this journey,
Hit me.
it's the transition. Monochrome to full color. First, delicate layers over the underpainting.
Okay, and how's that done?
It's where glazing comes in.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other thing to unpack.
Man, underpainting is really a hidden world, influencing everything we see on top.
Very much so.
This is amazing. Before we go full color, though, any pro tips to understand it all better?
There are, and not just for painters, but anyone who wants to get art deeper.
Perfect. Let's hear them.
First tip, keep it simple. Easy to get lost in details, right? But underpainting. Big picture first. Composition, those basic light and shadow areas.
Like you don't start a house with the doorknobs. Foundation, framing, that's got to come first.
Exactly. Strong base for everything else. And speaking of which, light and shadow. We know it's key for depth, but it's more than that.
Oh, deeper how?
Think about photographers. They obsess over lighting, right?
Yeah, for sure. Good lighting makes or breaks a photo.
Same for painting. It's not just showing the light. It's telling a story with it, guiding the eye, even the emotions.
So even in the neutral underpainting, we're setting up the mood of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wild.
It is. Which brings us to tip 3. Might sound odd. Experiment.
Experiment.
Don't be afraid to play with how you underpaint. Not just grays, maybe a touch of blue, make it cooler. Or if you're bold, textured underpainting, add something to the final piece.
So it's not just technical, there's style there too.
For sure. Happy accidents happen, right? Now, last tip, especially for oil painters, those take time to dry.
Oh yeah. Patience is key, especially with oils.
Precisely. Rushing it, colors mix where they shouldn't, messes up the layers.
Yeah, they're there.
It's a test, but worth it. You know, this whole chat, I see art differently now. Used to be all about the final colors.
You too.
But there's this hidden world underneath. Just as important.
Like an iceberg, right? We only see the tip.
Exactly. Speaking of which, remember the steps we were talking about?
Yeah, building up those neutral layers.
Right. So then how do we go from that to the full-on color?
That's the part I'm most curious about.
Glazing. Thin, translucent paint over the underpainting.
Glazing. I've heard the term, but it's actually happening there.
Think of it like, instead of blocks of color, it's veils of color. Underpainting peeks through, changes the final look.
So not just laying color down, it's like filtering it.
Exactly. Delicate process, but you build color gradually, get this depth you wouldn't with opaque paint alone.
Like layering colored glass. Each one affects the light coming through.
Yes. And what's crazy is the underpainting still matters. Even after you glaze, the colors underneath can subtly change the ones we see on top.
So even with color added, those neutrals are still in the mix, like a secret ingredient.
Precisely. Adding to the complexity. Like, imagine warm ochre underpainting, but you glaze with cool blue. Final color might be a little greenish because of how they optically mix.
Oh, that's neat.
Or portraits. Cool blue underpainting for skin, then glazed with warmer flesh tones.
Right.
Makes it look more real, that depth.
So it's not just one layer on top of the other, they're working together.
Exactly. That's why underpainting's so powerful. Not just a base, it's the groundwork for everything. Composition, lighting, mood, even final colors.
I'm seeing how it's both technical and artistic, like science of color, but also creative choices.
Exactly. Brings us back to our main point. Underpainting's not just prep work, it's part of the art.
I'm so glad we did this deep dive. Seriously, I'll never look at a painting the same way.
It changes things, doesn't it?
Big time. I'm kind of inspired to try it myself now.
Yeah.
Any last tips for people listening who might want to give it a shot?
Don't be afraid to experiment and trust your gut. No right way, Try stuff. Make mistakes.
Permission to mess up. I like that.
Most important is to enjoy it. On that note, this underpainting deep dive's been amazing, but are there other art techniques we should explore someday?
Ooh, so many. But one that always gets me is limited color palettes. Like making a whole painting with just a few colors.
Oh, that's a good one. Very challenging, but the results can be incredible.
Right. It's like a puzzle, figuring out how to get all those colors just by mixing a few tubes.
It really is.
We should deep dive on that sometime. But for now, I think we've covered underpainting pretty well.
We have, yeah. There's one more thing we haven't mentioned. Texture.
Texture. Like the surface of the painting itself. I thought that was more about how you apply the paint.
It is, but underpainting plays a part too. Imagine you want a rough surface, like rocks or bark. You could do a thick impasto underpainting, those heavy strokes.
You're like making a tiny landscape under the painting.
Exactly. Then when you paint on TP, those textures show through a bit. Add something extra.
Another layer of art we don't even realize is there.
Right. It's like visual information makes it richer.
Underpainting is the ultimate multitasker then. Composition, lighting, mood, color. 80 texture. Crazy how much goes on that we never see.
It is. Shows how dedicated those painters were. Every choice matters, even the invisible ones.
Makes you want to x-ray your favorite paintings. See what's hiding there.
I encourage it. Next time you're at a museum, really, the details, the colors, you'll see things differently.
I will. This has been so eye-opening. Not just learning about it, but appreciating the art even more.
I'm glad to hear it.
Seriously. All right, I think that's about all we can squeeze into this deep dive on underpainting.
I think so.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back with another topic soon, so stay tuned.
Always more to explore.
Exactly. Until then, keep learning and keep diving deep. Limited palettes, that'd be cool.
Oh.
I always wonder, how do they get so much variety with just a few tubes of paint?
Right. It really makes you understand color, how to mix it, the tiny differences between them.
Like a puzzle, yeah. We have to do that episode. But for now, I think we pretty much covered underpainting, haven't we?
Mostly. There is one thing we haven't touched on, though. Texture.
Texture. Like the actual raised surface. I thought that was more about how the paint's PUT on, not the underpainting.
It is, but the underpainting can affect it. Say you want a rough look, like rocks or bark.
Okay.
Your underpainting could be thick, impasto style, all those brush strokes.
So it's like a mini landscape under the painting. That then gets painted over.
Exactly. And those textures, they show through a little bit, even with the top layers. Makes it richer.
So there's this whole other level of art we don't even realize is there.
Yep. Adds visual information, makes it more complex to look at.
Man, underpainting does everything then. Composition, light, mood, color, and texture. It's crazy how much is going on. It's hidden.
It is remarkable. Shows you how much these artists thought about every step, even the ones we don't see.
Makes you want to get x-ray vision, see all the layers. It'd change how we see art.
It would. Next time you're at a museum, don't just glance. Really study the paintings, the colors, the way the light hits. You'll notice so much more.
I will, for sure. This deep dive has honestly been, I don't know, it's more than just learning. It's changed how I appreciate art.
I'm glad to hear it. It's about seeing more than what's on the surface, you know?
Exactly. Well, I think that about wraps up our underpainting adventure.
I think so, yeah.
Huge thanks to everyone listening. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, so stay tuned. In the meantime, keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep diving deep.
Couldn't have said it better myself.